Hello and peace. This is Mike. I want to talk about why I wanted to start this podcast. I have been Muslim for over 30 years now. I originally was brought up and raised as a Protestant Christian in the suburbs of Chicago, and I became Muslim. And the reason I decided why I want to do this podcast now is because I've seen a lot that's happened in this country. The United States has gone through an incredible transformation since I grew up in the 80s, and economically, socially, spiritually, politically, and there is so much that is said about Islam and assumed about Islam that's just not true, and I feel compelled to say something. So that's one. Also, like myself, I have obviously been through a spiritual journey for a long time, for really a lifetime. Becoming Muslim was a stepping stone, a major stepping stone, but a stepping stone in this journey. Certainly was not the finish line. It was certainly the starting line for my relationship with God. And there's a lot of podcasts out there that are by Muslims and for Muslims, and those are very valuable, and I certainly listen to many of those. But I haven't seen really much that's tailored for people that are new to Islam by people that were not raised Muslim. And for me, it was more than just, for me to take that step to become Muslim was more than just understanding that Islam was true, quote unquote, and there was a lot of social, political transformations that I had to get through. Right, there's certainly perceived cultural differences between the quote unquote West and the quote unquote Middle East and East and Islamic cultures, and I had to mentally go through some of those barriers. So this podcast is I want this podcast tailored for people that are spiritual looking, that are sincere, so that they can know that there's other people that have gone through the same journey, and hopefully answer some questions and be an opening for them to explore Islam. And I really want people to get out of this idea that Islam is a clash of civilizations with the West is completely false. It's as false as the lone shooter killed the lone shooter who killed JFK. Like, it's completely fabricated and made up. And many years ago, I used to when I was more naive, I used to think, well, people just didn't know about Islam. Knowing more, especially what's happened over the last few years, that there is certainly a conscious effort to make sure that there's this understanding that Islam is this backwards, jihadi, beheading, violent, anti-West, anti-freedom, anti-women, anti-freedom of speech, anti-good, anti-light, and it's just completely not true. Like, not just like a little bit, but like it's just I would certainly make the argument. Here in the West, we talk a lot about Judeo-Christian, and that was a concept that started after World War II. And I would certainly make the argument that Islam is far closer to Christianity from a spiritual doctrine perspective than Christianity is to Judaism. And that would be shocking to, I'm sure, many people, but that's just how I see it, and I see how that is just undeniable. And I want to set the record straight on many of those things. We'll be talking about obviously comparisons between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, right? The three Abrahamic faiths, and some other faiths, and also talk about those bridges politically, culturally. When I grew up as Protestant Christian, I had a friend when I was in high school who was Muslim, and he did a very good job of an excellent job of bridging the cultural differences so that Islam became quote unquote normal. Like, I certainly was not ready to start to accept Islam and start practicing as a Muslim. Like, that was a long way away, but it certainly became a regular, normal, accepted religion. And I want to say what the truth is, and if people accept that, great, and if they don't, I've done my best. There's a prayer, there's a common prayer in Islam: God, show us truth as truth and let us follow it, and show us falsehood as falsehood and let us avoid it. And with that in mind is why I want to do this podcast. And so I look forward to bringing many conversations about how the similarities between the West and Western cultures and Western practices is to Islam. The politically, socially, here in America, there's been an awakening that's happened over the last couple years. And politically and even spiritually, people are starting to come back to the roots. Like, I know me, and I've talked to dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of converts and heard their stories. And there's a similar thread about things were going well, and then things in their life were not going well, and they decided to be very sincere in turning to God. And many times Islam is like the last choice that they go to. And I see that people are starting to become more spiritual. In the 80s, it was when I was in high school, it was very common for people to be going to church every Sunday. That was just, if not most people did that. There was churches on almost every corner, and now it's pretty rare that happens. And I think in the United States, something like, I've heard stats that are all over the place, but just for orders of magnitude, 50-60% of people that are raised in a Christian household or even Muslim household end up leaving their religion. I'm starting to see this, and maybe it's hopeful thinking, but I'm starting to see the pendulum starting to swing the other way. With all the financial problems the United States has, and people are really collectively waking up that a lot of things that we were taught in school or as youngsters or even as adults, we're waking up now that we've been told a lot of things that are not true. And a lot of things that we were told about religion, all religions, and also particularly with Islam, is also not true. And I want there to be a source that for people in the West can understand Islam by people that were raised in the West, to cross those cultural barriers and misconceptions. And so I look forward to having these conversations, and my goal is to be very sincere, truthful, authentic in doing these. And really, I'm not looking for anything in return. I'm simply looking to help. May the most merciful, the most forgiving, and the one who guides give us the best of guidance. See you next time.